So it has been said that we attract what we fear. However, even though this is the case, and I will go into why that is in a second, it can be normal for someone to spend a lot of their life trying to avoid what they fear. And on one level this can make sense, because if someone fears something and they are just an observer of their reality, then it will make sense for them to try to avoid something, whatever it may be that they fear, to do everything they can to make sure this doesn't happen. Because if they don't do this, then of course they can think that what they fear will take place. However, as they are not merely an observer of their reality, and they're also playing an active role in what takes place, the very act of trying to avoid something can bring that very thing into existence. And so through trying to resist something, what they resist will persist and even grow. And so someone, for example, can fear having no control. They can fear being humiliated. They can fear being abandoned. They can fear being harmed. So through having these fears, they can do things to try and make sure this doesn't happen. And even though they can fear being humiliated and do everything they can to make sure this doesn't happen, they can still end up being humiliated. And the same with having no control. They can try to prevent that, and they can find time and time again that they feel as though they have no control. Circumstances, events and situations can arise that cause them to feel as though they have no control. And so the reason why trying to stop something from taking place will cause it to take place, so we attract what we fear, is because even though someone will be trying to avoid something, to prevent something, they will be still in that place of fear. So they will be giving out, because their mind and the universe doesn't understand negation. So the very act of trying to prevent something will bring it in, because one is focusing on that which they don't want. They're coming from that place still of what they fear. And not only can this affect an individual, it can also affect society as a whole and the country. So, for example, if millions and millions of people have a fear of having no control, or don't have a fear of not feeling safe, for example, so having their safety and security undermined, they can then end up manifesting a leader or a tyrant who promises to provide them with security, so they can then give away their freedom and put up with draconian laws, because this person will promise to make sure that what they fear doesn't happen. And then through feeling this way, they can end up feeling or believing that it's right to have a war, to invade a country, because that can seem as though this is the only way for them to deal with their own fears. So another part of this is that they will be projecting their internal reality onto the external world. And then as a way to deal with their own projections, they will feel the need to change what is going on externally. So it's then easy to see how someone's fears can end up controlling their own life. And they can control how a country behaves, what country desires. And when it comes to what someone fears and even what a country fears, these can relate to things that have already taken place. But because they're unaware of this, it will seem as though it's just something out there that they need to change. Something that is inevitable if they don't do something. And if it does relate to something that's already happened, this can relate to what took place during their childhood years. And so as they were unable to resolve and still haven't resolved what took place, it will have an effect on what they fear and what they expect. And so in order for them to really change and to let go of what they fear, at both an individual and the collective level, then will need to resolve their fears. And through doing this, they will no longer project what they fear onto their fellow human beings and onto other countries. And their life and the world will be able to change. So this shows how important it is for someone to resolve their own fears, how important self-awareness is. Because without self-awareness, it will always seem as though something out there, although fear is inevitable. But through stepping back, and when someone owns their own issues, they can start to work through their fears. And of course, if a country was to do this as a whole, it would change, and they would have no need, if they did have the need, to invade or to go to war with another country. So if someone wants to change the world, change their own world, it will be essential for them to resolve their own fears, and to do this, they may need to reach out for the assistance of a therapist or a healer, someone who can hold the space for them, so that they will go where they wouldn't go by themselves. And of course, this can take a lot of courage to do this, and it would be a lot easier to try to control someone else or to try to change the world. But through doing this, it can simply add more drama, more toxicity to what's going on out there. It will be far more beneficial for someone to go within and to heal themselves